Hello, happy new moon in Taurus, everyone. We are going to go ahead and begin. Mo's are going to hop in here at the speed of alignment. So, today we have a very, very powerful new moon, probably one of the most powerful ones for the year of 2026. And that's because of the two major conjunctions, which a conjunction is planetary bodies, or in this case, a fixed star and an asteroid that are fusing with this intention. One of them is Algol, which is known as a death star. Okay, so it's all about transformation and the shedding of an old layer of self that leads to the emergence, renewal, and rebirth and regeneration of you, essentially. So it's a lot to do with descending into the underworld and then ascending back into the mortal realm, transformed. That is the story of Ceres. Yeah, I just want to check how you guys are all doing, and we're going to dive into it. It's a new moon that's incredibly fertile, and it's not anything that is a rushed manifestation, but instead it's more about a deep-rooted transformation that's happening with the self. This will illuminate where we have been disconnected from the natural cycles of abundance that we are a part of and an extension of as a product of creation from the universal rhythm itself, and gently bring us back into harmonic order with what it is that we have always been, which is a highly abundant being as we move through this construct. So we're going to see where we've been disconnected from our own power, deeply understanding the ancestral programs that we have adopted and inherited for the pure purpose of transcending them. And as we bring awareness to this, we gently create this bridge or this gap between perceived limitations and remembering ourselves as the fluid, limitless being that we are as we navigate this construct. So hello, everyone. It's good to see you. So yeah, the story of Ceres, if you guys don't know, or Demeter in Greek mythology, she's also known as Hathor in ancient Egyptian mythology, she was the goddess of earth, agriculture, fertility, and nourishment. And one day her daughter Persephone was playing in the spring fields, and she was abducted by Hades, taken into the underworld because of her beauty, and was essentially there in the underworld. And while she was there with Hades, Demeter in the mortal realm fell into such a great depression and grief that the earth stopped producing life because she stopped nourishing it. And so the crops died, the land became barren, and nothing was able to grow. Persephone, meanwhile, was in the underworld, right, in the land of Ukupacha, and she was given these pomegranate seeds by Hades, and she was also in such a deep grief being separated from her mother that she only ate half of them. If she had ate all of them, she would have been cast out into the underworld for all of eternity. But because she only ate half, Hermes was able to be this traveler between the mortal, heaven and hell, right? All these different modalities, planes of consciousness. And so he struck a deal with Hades, and they came to a final agreement that she would spend 6 months of the year in the mortal realm and 6 months in the underworld. So she returned back to Earth with her mother, and that became the explanation of the seasons, because during winter, Demeter would be, again, in this grief because she'd be separated from Persephone, and so she wouldn't water the crops, which led to them becoming barren and dry. And then upon her return in the spring, then she was watering the land, and we were experiencing the agricultural cycles. And so embedded within this story of Ceres, there's this understanding that life moves in cycles, and we as an extension of this cycle, an expression of this cycle, go through these seasons of descent and seasons where we feel buried within the depth of our inner world. And then there are also seasons of return where we reemerge from the forgotten realms and are able to bring forth this deep knowledge that we've been able to excavate from the soul or the psyche and apply that to our life journey when it comes to this physical terrestrial plane. So it's very much that. And then it also ties beautifully with the story of 𝓪𝓬, because 𝓪𝓬 is a Gorgon, and so she's heavily linked with the story of Medusa. And this is character or archetype that carries themes of transformation that occurred through survival. And so people often associate 𝓪𝓬 with death and intensity and destruction, and also obsession and confronting the shadow. But she also represents this feminine force that essentially stopped shrinking herself and stopped abandoning herself and stopped existing solely for the perception of others. She was able to integrate her shadow, much like Persephone when she had re-emerged and come back to the mortal realm. She wasn't the same person as she initially was. She had gone through this alchemical process. She was no longer the innocent girl that she once was. And that speaks to your life journey, your space-time travels, and everything it is in which you've experienced has become the very reason you are a product of strength, you are a product of courage. It's because of everything that you've been through, yet you don't allow it to define you. And it's not a weakness, it's a deep self, it's a reconnection with the self, it's deep compassion that you're able to extend towards the self and these cycles that you naturally move through. Because in this holographic construct, we're always going through periods of disconnection from the self and reconnection with the self. And this is a time where you're reconnecting with yourself now more than ever before. And that's what the new moon is, right? So you're becoming unrecognizable, you're integrating these parts of yourself. And that's what's so powerful about this new moon. I have a video coming out today where I'll go into it deeper, but I just wanted to dive into this with all of you. So yeah, your stanzas are changing, right? There's transformation that's occurring behind the scenes. And that's something that will become evident in your life experience and how you choose to move forward in this cycle. So yeah, hi everybody. Hi Apex Anon, hi Eye of the State, hi Tran 5C. Food for thought, I'm so glad. Thank you for existing. Beautiful life, truth, live and light. So thankful. Hi Littrell. Hi, hello everybody. So yeah, that is the story. It's about the reemergence of a new you. It's a descent into the underworld where you can, hold on. All right, let's see. Mo may come on. He may come on later. There was just a mix-up, so I'm just checking. But yeah, another thing that I want to mention is that today we have Chiron conjunct Mars in Aries, and this is at 28 degrees. So there is a sensitivity that's also occurring. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's a part of us that feels shame or rejection. So there's a wound around the selfhood, survival, anger, and also fear of fully taking up space. The Sabian symbol I'll read for you is at 29 degrees, and it's a celestial choir that's singing. It's a symbol of resonance, alignment, and collective frequency, as well as remembering that your voice carries an energetic impact far beyond what the physical eye can sense. Mars ignites things like action and raw life force, and then Chiron also exposes those wounds of rejection, humiliation, and also past battles that we have taken on. Essentially, it's where we have accepted the projections of the insecurities of those around us, or the projections of where some of us in the system are disconnected from ourselves and our own power, and we have mistaken that as our own identity, especially when it comes to the larger systems within this matrix. So this lunation in particular could even trigger that frustration or that grief, especially through the realization of where many of us have been silencing ourselves in order to maintain something that was never really in alignment with our highest expression in the end. And so your voice is not supposed to shrink to survive. This is about you really illuminating what those ancestral programs may be. And so this new moon definitely feels like a reconnection to a frequency of the soul, and also no longer apologizing for taking up space, right? You deserve to take up space. Chiron and Aries has taught us that wound when it comes to visibility. And that's why I think it's so potent, right? That's why I feel this is so potent. What we'll probably do is later on when Mo hops on, we might even do a separate live later on, but I'm thinking potentially to even just do a meditation too. We'll probably get some messages and then we'll hop into meditation, and then we may do something again later today. But let me just recalibrate for a second. How are you guys doing? Hi, Joseph. If you want to come on here, you're very welcome to hop on, by the way. I'm going to send a link in the live chat. So yeah, that actually reminds me of something that I was tuning into last night, where I was focusing on the transit of chironic energy and this transition that we're going to be having. So it's a lot to do with feeling safe within the body, reconnecting with the self, reconnecting with your natural cycles that you go through and honoring those cycles. And this is a cycle where there is this deep rooted reconnection that's happening with the self, to the point that as you move through the world, your presence and the connection that you have to yourself is not disrupted through the absence or what could appear to be an interference from the world around you. Your internal state of being remains neutral and, I almost want to say, untouched as you navigate this external world. It's about reaching that point of reconnection with the self and what the true nature of this construct is, which is an illusion. Yeah, maintaining an illusion. The matrix is designed to keep us suppressed so that we can't evolve by manipulating false narratives. Again, and these are the inversions of truth from this system in general, and that's the inversion of harmonic order and universal order, which is you being an abundant being and the universe also being highly abundant. So yeah, that's definitely the vibe. How do you guys feel about going into meditation? I'm vibing being, oh, no worries, no worries. So yeah, some type of transformation. And it's something that isn't going to be super apparent initially to those around you. It's more about a silent transformation that's happening behind the scenes as reality begins reorganizing itself around this version of self. It's what it is you're devoting yourself to as well. So the Sabian symbol for this new moon is at 26 degrees. I'm not going to talk too much about it just because I have a video coming out today anyway, so that will help recap. But it's all about a Spaniard serenading a señorita. And it basically talks about, let me see if I can find it. The symbol speaks to resourcefulness and a man's ability to make himself at home and find whatever he needs wherever he is. And that's about, again, making yourself at home, reconnecting with this inner still sanctuary, no matter where you are, no matter what may appear to be a reality that is fixed. One, in truth, it's extremely malleable. Reality begins to shift the moment that we recognize that it's only a temporal moment that is ever changing for all of eternity. And we get to experience these temporal moments through time as we move through this system. So don't allow your current environment or condition to define who you are and also who you remember yourself to be. So yeah, that's another energy. All right, I think we'll probably just get into meditation while we're here, and then maybe we'll hop in again later with Mo. It's a recalibration and also a welcomed one, since we've been meaning to actually step in and do this. So let's prepare for meditation. We'll do this together and come into this collective harmonious energy and get the day started right. Okay, so children of light, I welcome for you to close your eyes in this moment and just take a deep breath slowly, inhaling all the way down into the base of your spine, into your stomach, And exhaling, feeling yourself becoming lighter and lighter, and just feel your body soften. Feel your nervous system regulating as you take deep breaths, reconnecting with the self. And on the exhale, unclench from the weight of the world. Just begin to feel the rhythm of the earth beneath your feet, the heartbeat of Gaia. Not just the ground, but the living intelligence beneath all things. The ancient body and intelligent organism of the planet Earth herself. Feel her breathe as you breathe. Pulsing together. Remembering yourself as one. And create this very strong grounding cord, almost an umbilical cord that wraps around the entire circumference of your body, all the way down to the center of the earth, connecting you into the planetary grid system. This is a connection that allows you to establish safety in your body, stability, as you move among this construct. And now create your source cord from the crown of your head all the way up to the celestial realms. And allow your awareness to travel upwards through this source cord, beyond the room that you're in, beyond the sky, beyond the visible construct of this world, and into the luminous realm of 𝓻𝓪𝓵, the celestial realm, the infinite, the fluid, abundant, formless, free, golden, alive system. Streams of light that move through the cosmos like rivers of consciousness. The stars that pulse like a living memory. You can see 𝓪𝓬 here as well. Watch these nebulae as they bloom like thoughts inside of the mind of creation itself. As you bring awareness to these different living organisms, they dance in this field of creation. And as you gaze into the vastness, you realize something profound. These beings, they're not separate from you. This is not a distant heaven that's watching over you. It's an octave of your own consciousness, the eternal aspect of yourself. The part of you that's untouched by time, fear, scarcity, or the identity that you've embodied, that the eternal being has experienced themselves through temporarily. It's the awareness that existed before this incarnation and continues far beyond it. And now feel that eternal presence descending gently through your source cord, through the crown of your head, and anchored throughout your entire organism. Not as something that's an external being entering you, but instead this remembrance. It's the higher octave of yourself becoming embodied while inside of the physical form. The infinite learning to move consciously through matter. The mechanics of spirit navigating the physical realm. And now, as you begin remembering, creating these members that you're reestablishing within yourself, that you're far more expansive than the temporary conditions of this lifetime, far more expansive than the survival programs of the nervous system, and far more expansive than the stories inherited through the bloodline. You begin feeling your consciousness branching beyond the visible system itself, like roots extending through dimensions, like light stretching across timelines. And now feel this awareness settling into your body, into your chest, into your heart, your belly, your nervous system. The eternal presence fully inhabiting the human experience. Now begin descending into the realm of 𝓂𝓪𝓬. Really be immersed in the land of the living, the physical realm, the material plane. You've created this strong bridge between spirit and matter. Here within 𝓂𝓪𝓬, you recognize that wealth was never physical. It wasn't only physical. True wealth was a state of awareness, a relationship to existence itself, and a remembrance of what you are. You begin understanding that scarcity was never about resources. Instead, it was born through disconnection, a disconnection to the eternal self, and from the awareness that life itself is infinitely abundant. You realize that abundance naturally emerges through this coherence. And through openness to life force moving through you consciously, you're now witnessing before you an ancient opening within the earth begin to appear. Stone passageways spiraling downwards. As you embark on this sacred descent, you instinctively recognize it as the entrance into 𝓂𝓂𝓪𝓬, the ancestral realm. Allow yourself to travel deep into the core of the DNA, the memory of the earth, of everything that you've been, and everything that you also have the potential of becoming. In the ancestral realm, the subconscious field, you find the hidden architecture beneath conscious awareness, until eventually you arrive within a vast underground chamber. It's still ancient and alive. Now within 𝓂𝓂𝓪𝓬, you can ask to see clearly the ancestral field in order to reveal the programs of your lineage, to scan not only the strengths, but also the weaknesses carried through the bloodline. And slowly, the field begins responding. You begin seeing the strengths first, the resilience, the intuition, creativity, mysticism, the ability to survive destabilization and continue moving forth. This deep emotional sensitivity and the ability to love even after deep pain. Ancient wisdom carried quietly through the lineage, and now the weakness begins revealing themselves. Not as shame or insecurity, but neutrally observe the illusions that the ancestors were living under, illusions that you too had been living under through parallel incarnations upon Earth, programs rooted in separation, scarcity, fear, self-abandonment, silence, suppression, the belief that worth had to be earned through suffering, the belief that power existed outside of the self, the fear of visibility, the fear of fully becoming. And now you begin seeing clearly where your ancestors could not yet see themselves clearly, where you yourself had not yet seen yourself clearly while running these unconscious programs. And as these patterns arise, you remain neutral, just simply observing them. As this fluid being from 𝓻𝓪𝓻𝓵 descending into 𝓂𝓵𝓻 and 𝓤𝓭𝓵, the land of the living and the underworld, you begin to understand that these programs are not your totality. They're simply inherited octaves of consciousness moving through the avatar that your eternal essence has temporarily incarnated into. And so they're naturally temporary distortions created through the disconnection from the eternal self. And as you gently begin bringing awareness towards the places where there was disconnection from personal power, and you understand the themes and patterns that occurred through the lineage due to this program, you begin observing how these illusions shaped different areas of life. It shaped your ancestors' relationships to themselves, their relationship to love, their relationship to receiving, their relationship to safety, their relationship to exchanging with the physical material plane and co-creating. You begin seeing how fear distorted and interrupted the flow of life force, and how survival consciousness created contraction within the nervous system. How scarcity shaped the way that they moved through reality, and how disconnection from the self created disconnection from abundance, intimacy, expression, and truth. And now, rather than rejecting these parts, you can bring in the energy from the celestial realm, from your crown chakra light, and illuminate them. Choose a creative color that speaks most to you. It may be golden light. It's a universal color that you're able to utilize in order to alchemize any density. It could be purple, blue, yellow, whatever's needed at this stage of your evolution. You can work with the frequency of this color and see it begin flowing downwards from 𝓻𝓪𝓻𝓵 through the land of 𝓂𝓵𝓻 and into 𝓤𝓭𝓵. This celestial awareness meeting the ancestral field through you. And as awareness touches these distortions, that you can see its contracts. They could be papyruses, they may be stone tablets, anything that feels most real to you. Notice that they begin softening, dissolving, or crumbling, because illusion weakens the moment that is consciously seen. And you begin to realize that your role is not to judge the lineage, but to become aware enough to no longer unconsciously repeat their programs, to gently unwind them through this observation, embodiment, and conscious relationship to the self, through remembering what you truly are. Just take a deep breath and reconnect with yourself. And with every breath, allow the body to reestablish this remembrance that you're not only the inherited story or the survival patterns or the fear that's been carried through the lineage, but instead you're the awareness capable of seeing it clearly, the eternal presence capable of transforming your relationship to the illusion. And now begin ascending, slowly rising upwards from 𝓤𝓭𝓵, carrying awareness instead of this unconscious repetition, returning through the roots, returning through the earth, and back into 𝓂𝓵, the land of the living. But something's changed about you because you've transformed. You're more present, embodied, more aware. Notice how this state of being, of what it is that the vessel needed most in this moment, that the lineage needed most in this moment, as you infuse them with this creative color, See how it would have shifted their life experiences. Infuse it into the memories, into the body, and that way of being into the present moment. What does that look like? What does it feel like to be seated in this remembrance? So as you stand once again upon planet Earth, feeling the heavens above you and the ancestral roots below you, and within the center between both realms, you stand here but awake and grounded and conscious, no longer moving through this system blindly through inherited illusions, but instead consciously redirecting the current through awareness itself. Feel the eternal self moving through the body, fluid, free, and limitless. The celestial and earthly field unified within you. Just breathe deeply and feel the earth pulse beneath you. Feel the infinite field extending through you. And when you're ready, you can slowly return, carrying this remembrance with you. And when you do, you'll see reality for what it truly is, which is the realm of energy. A holographic projection being rendered through you. And whichever center is open, imbalanced or balanced, will be your largest filter of how you perceive this reality. And when you begin to perceive it through the crown, you may be immersed within the illusion, but you can see it clearly. You may be immersed within this experience, yet you're operating from beyond the system. And so that is the realm of 𝓂𝓂. That is the realm of remembering what it is that you truly are, and wealth being a state of awareness. You know, our goal can also be a wealth star. It can be great power. 16th of May frequency noted. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's a powerful, powerful energy. So that's what the route to the crown allows you to do. It's the largest center of primordial life force, and the crown is the center of manifestation. And so it takes the non-physical and then projects it into the physical realm. Man is simply the effect of his cause. And within you and your DNA, again, it holds the memory of everything that you've been and everything that you have the potential of becoming, that you can simultaneously access at any given point in your journey. And so allow today to be coherence, and how notice if that's your dominant vibration as you move through your day. How many times do you disconnect from yourself as you move through the system? Can you wake yourself back up when you fall asleep? That's what it is. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how you guys found that. I've been seeing a lot of blue beings. My ancestors are cheering. Yeah. And again, your gifts become accessible when you begin to heal that trauma. And to heal it is to integrate it, which is to become whole with it, which is to bring awareness to what that is. You know, what triggers or disconnects you from the self, right? Because every bloodline and every incarnation is this wave of children that are essentially being seeded into these different bloodlines that hold these different programs and distortions. And these children are being born at a higher and higher frequency, and they're able to recover more memory from the DNA. And you are equipped with these tools in order to be able to alchemize the very perceived limitation that all the lineage held before you, right? So yeah, it's that's what it was. And a lot of us can sense this this environment in our upbringing, especially as children. I was seeing that in my meditation the other day as well, where there was deep anger and insecurity, and then a deep feeling of shame. And then I remembered this scenario being in, the car, and actually seeing that that shame was something that I had accepted from another person that was being projected. And we can also see this from larger systems within this matrix, as you were extremely sensitive. So what kind of conditioning or illusions or fear of scarcity or the lack mindset of those within the environment around us have we allowed ourselves to become a product or reflection of? And as we gently reconnect with the self, we'll recognize that we begin to mirror a different example. It's not going to look like many around you. And that's quite literally the point, right? You're no longer mirroring the wounds of disconnection. It's not something that you subscribe to, right? So yeah, often what you will need is being able to understand that you're sensing your environment, what's happening in the field, but not allowing yourself to create an identity around it, right? And needing confidence and having a grounded presence as you move through this multidimensional system. And so being able to bring yourself back to that 0 point from trigger into peace, right? Remembering that it's an illusion, to detach from it and apply neutral observation, it automatically and simultaneously brings your body back into homeostasis. So do you believe in yourself, or what the world or the system or matrix has been telling you? That's really what this is. Yeah, we will be the true mirror of our higher self, exactly. That's what it is to become the embodiment of it, the third dimensional expression of it. That is the psychological operation, that is the matrix. So we have the capacity to become so aware of ourselves, which means that our architecture multidimensionally holds a lot more complexity, and that's the structure of the soul. And that expresses itself in the physical form, right? Every human can be dormant in this lifetime of the fact that they're infinite potential, but it doesn't negate the fact of what you truly are, whether you choose to recognize that within yourself or whether those around you remember that within themselves. Yeah, you have the capacity to apply free will in your perception, which instantaneously shifts the way that you think about yourself, you feel about yourself, and transform your relationship with the material plane. And that's what Persephone realized, right? She returns to the mortal realm being the queen of the underworld. And so while those around her fear that power, they fear the shadow realms because they fear the unknown. They fear, and that's one thing about this new moon. The veil today is incredibly thin, okay? The veil between the subconscious and the conscious mind is very fine right now, okay? The fabric between the existence of two realms are one. And so it's so incredibly powerful to dive deep into that internal exploration, to remember that abundance is truly a state of awareness. It's as soon as you remember who you are as you navigate the system, we remember time is not a linear construct, but instead it's a simultaneous shift that happens It's a frequency shift and an octave that you tune into the very moment you remember what you are. And that frequency changing and your ability to shift your frequency, it shows progression along, you know, you flowing with the natural rhythm of the universal flow itself along this evolutionary system. You evolve your perspective to see yourself from an ascended framework. So yeah, some, you know, choose to be unconscious during this time, and also that's their role, and it's also a very important role because it creates the foundational construct for your evolution. But you don't have to continue experiencing life that way. So being interdimensional allows you to remember that not only are you multidimensional when you're operating in multiple dimensions simultaneously, but you can navigate between those different dimensions of yourself, and you're aware when you're, let's say, embodying a lower octave or expression. And so even interdimensional beings speak about moving through these cycles of consciousness and awareness and disconnect and reconnect, and that's natural. It's all part of the system. And it reminds me of inversions of love in general. I'm going to do a whole message on this, like a whole reading of inversions of truth, because it's what we call black magic in this system. And we can perform it every day without realizing. And it often just comes from a distorted view with our relationship to the material plane. So yeah, cultivating that internal coherence fast allows you to actually evolve instead of just appearing to be evolved. It allows you to embody that understanding, because a tree cannot fake its roots. When the storm comes by, which we have here at the base, perfect storm, the courage to step into a new life, that's what the new moon energy pretty much is. It will uproot it, right? If the roots are weak, then the structure collapses underneath pressure. And this is about you navigating that pressure and seeing that pressure is what allows you to form the very diamond that you are. And a diamond is a multifaceted being. So how are you guys doing though? Yeah, being multidimensional, for sure. We'll touch on that. I'm going to do some teachings on that, of the like being half man, you know, half god, kind of half demon, right? The light and the shadow aspects, because the potential of what humanity has within it and has the potential of becoming is encoded and exists within each one of us simultaneously. And there's never a fixed identity or role that we're playing here. It's whichever one we decided to be. You're literally a field of consciousness, and you have access to multiple octave expressions of yourself at any moment. And so you can be the victim, right? You can see yourself as a victim with Persephone being abducted, or understand that that was something in resonance. When you zoom out enough, it becomes a huge part of her story. Like you sometimes we don't understand through this limited survival filter the benefit of what it is that we're experiencing at this stage of our evolution. But the octave of us seated at a higher level of understanding can see the full landscape of time space. It can understand the position that you are in when it comes to this chessboard game that you're playing, essentially, right? And the oversoul, it can understand the coordinates within space-time that you're seated at, and the bigger picture when it comes to what it is that we're currently experiencing and how that weaves into the bigger picture. That's the tapestry of life. We don't understand a tapestry when we're standing really, really close to it, but only when we zoom out can we admire the intricate design that is our life journey. And so that's what it is, right? It's going to huge shift. Yeah. I mean, I have a reading coming out today, and it should illuminate a lot of this much further. Yeah, so we cannot create while we're in survival, right? That's like a huge thing. We cannot create when we're in survival. They cannot happen either we're unconsciously repeating in the system, or we're stepping into a realm of creation. And so when we speak about returning to yourself after that period of survival, it's about reclaiming fragmented parts of your own consciousness. Survival mode contracts our field. So we see life through this very myopic, limited lens, and it narrows our perception, where we're literally looked into emotional programs, where the emotional body overrides our intuition. Intuition and emotion are separate modalities, okay? They are not the same. Emotions are just these, they are informers, they are sensations that we feel, and it happens through the nervous system. So sometimes that locks us into, we get lost in the sensation of it. And intuition is something much gentler. Intuition comes through when we're able to regulate the emotions. That's the forgotten language, right? Understanding the mechanics. That's what I mean when I say mechanics of the soul navigating the physical form, right? The physical vessel. And when we regulate that, that's when the organism begins to remember its original frequency again, which is being a being that experiences the sensations and is experiencing them, but also becomes the observer of those sensations. So that's where you reconnect with the parts of yourself that existed before that fear or that survival program became your dominant filter of how you see reality. Fear and survival really stems from the disconnection from what you truly are. That's all it stems from. It's fear of death. It's fear of, what is death? It's not an ending. Death is energy being transformed. So that survival is a belief system that you are disconnected from the eternal realm and the eternal being that you are. That's all it is. And true wealth is beyond the physical. Literally, it's being aware of yourself while inside of the physical and the system that you originate and branch beyond. Joseph says slow integration so that the download doesn't get an error message at the end and restarts the download. Yeah, so you can streamline fully, right? Slow integration. Integration is being able to be seated in this understanding and also re-establishing the connection to the self and what has always been there. Often we're just removing the distortions. So survival mode can disconnect you from your real nature, right? It disconnects you from your creative abilities and your ability to also receive. You attract not what you want in the system, but you attract what you are and what you're operating under. And most people don't realize that survival disconnects you from creation itself, because when the body's locked into fear, it literally contracts your whole bioelectrical system. You're a battery pack. That's the whole fascia in the body. And you're at a very low, slow bandwidth. And so that energy gets redirected towards protection rather than expression, right? And liberation, receiving. And so your creativity and intuition and your receptivity to actually receive abundance begins to contract. You're not generating from this place of wholeness. You start just reacting from this ancestral memory. And so 𝓪𝓬𝓪 today basically speaks about reclaiming that power after the pain, after the betrayal, experiencing seasons of where things have been really difficult, where it's been difficult to show up as this transformed version of self, and what that means for your life experience, how it can disrupt our comfort zone in many ways. It's the moment that your pain either hardens you into protection or it transforms you into a deeper self-awareness, that you don't have to be defined by these systems, but instead they can refine you, they can refine your character. So yeah, it's a difficult season. It has been, where it's stripped away identities that we've built around external validation or a direct confrontation with our own shadow. But also there's a energy where your power is being reclaimed as soon as you stop abandoning yourself. So energy that's almost been trapped within those wounds, you can think about it as expressions within you that have been contracted within those wounds, begin to expand again, and they become available as life force. If we invest our dominant filter of perceiving reality into the things that we feel are not possible, the things that we feel we're not capable of doing, then that's where life force is scattered. But as soon as we disrupt those programs and we redirect that back to what it is that we truly are, then we can move as one in this system. So yeah, where have we lost ourselves essentially? And how many times do we return to the self? And that's what abundance is. Abundance is understanding that even money is a tool that you came here to work with, to do the things that you actually want to do when it comes to your celestial origin point. And so these larger systems, or this societal engineering or weaving within the construct and the universe in which we've actually designed for ourselves to play with these different modalities through, it's about not accepting that projection as your own, right? Abundance is the connection that you have to yourself and the truth of this universe. You are in this natural cycle of abundance and co-creation. When a little organism begins to fall out of alignment with that system and begins resisting the whole flow of the abundant life force of the universe, then we fall into disconnection, right? We fall into decoherence. But the beautiful thing is that once a fractal awareness falls into decoherence, it has the ability to reestablish electrical communication with the source. That's where we no longer fall into this cycle of destruction, but instead restoration. We fall back into harmonic order and we begin to flow with what it is that we've always been, right? We do not resist the current of the river, but we utilize its power as our own. And we flow with what it is that we've always been, which is the very source that we seek, because all rivers lead to the ocean. That's what it is. And so this new nation, just take it as this, guys, it's asking you to rebuild your internal foundation first and reclaim that radical honesty with the self. How many times have we disconnected with the self? And that's okay, but gently bringing ourselves back, right? Gently reconnecting. And that is rebuilding safety within instead of searching for it externally, right? That is conscious cultivation. Humanity has spent a long time building systems and relationships and also identities around fear and instability. And this feels like the beginning of people consciously choosing what truly nourishes them emotionally, spiritually, physically, energetically. And the collective field begins to remember itself as the abundant and natural part of the universe, right? It's this natural side effect where we're able to move from that alignment instead of trying to force things in the system. So that's very much what this is. And again, with the Sabin symbol, it's a Spaniard serenading a señorita, which is literally what we're devoting ourselves to, what we're passionate about, and also what supports the soul's intentions as we navigate and move through this construct. So allow that to be the teaching, allow that to be a lesson for you. Wherever Taurus is in your chart, right, it's going to talk about that relationship being seated at this stage of your life, so that by the time the full moon in Taurus occurs later this year, you'll be able to see that culmination point of what it is that you're seeding when it comes to this powerful intention. And so the relationship that you're reestablishing with yourself is going to reflect the things that you go on to achieve and create in the material plane, because it's not about the seeds that you're planting, but about you remembering yourself as you seed them into creation. And how does a seed germinate? It germinates in darkness. This new moon is out of bounds right now. This is like you announcing this reconnection with yourself first, and then the world sees the natural translation of it through everything that you're able to cultivate and weave through the fabric of space-time and this existence that gets to express itself through you fully in this flow-like surrendered state, because you remember yourself as a conduit, streamlining infinite potential, while also allowing your ancestors to ascend through this evolved expression that they do not know, but they're learning through you. Ancestors aren't something that's just in the past. They're fractal expressions, which means that they resurface within us. And so we guide them a different way. Thank you so much, Lioness Delight. I literally made a post about this. I love us all. Yeah, 100%. That may the energy festival that you send out return to you tenfold. I love 333. Again, it's stepping into your highest of potentials and it's major growth. And yeah, your silence is its own authority, right? Like silence does not announce its growth. Trees do not announce their growth. Your silence is its own transmission. And so there's something that's silently being seeded within you. And really, that's the external reflection of where you've been seeded onto this planet. And now you're finally giving yourself permission to bloom. And that bloom happens naturally, right? What is the crown chakra? It's the lotus opening up. It's connection that's being reestablished to the heavenly celestial being that you are. And so it's a reconnection with the self. I will keep saying it again and again. And it's going to be more important now than ever, especially with what we'll be seeing transpire in world events in this system. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to speak about it in some readings that we have coming up. I'm definitely going to tune into some more teachings on this topic because it's incredibly important. So yeah, that's what it is. So I just am going to hop on here. I may hop on later or another point with Mo, but I'm going to get this day started. Thank you so much for coming into meditation with everyone that participated. I was feeling so much energy travel into the realm, into the center of the earth. And what it is that you're recovering is so powerful. Everything that you're embodying is so powerful. We're going to cap this off at an hour. It's so funny because we have inner earth here at the base. So we're going to pull a card for everyone that's here, everyone that comes into alignment with this message. Base chakra, it's all to do with primordial life force and laying foundations. Let me just we'll hop on here with Mo another time, most probably, or I may jump on live again later today. But I've got some messages that I want to dive into today. Stellar Gateway, Infinite Potential Manifestation Vortex. Okay, this energy is all about Thoth. So what is Thoth's teaching, guys? Thoth is one of the archetypes. And again, it's not an archetype to cling to, but he is an archetype that expresses to us the importance of remembering ourselves as being formless before returning back to the light. He is a being that streamlines the information within that occupies the dimensions that he dwells in and helps us restore this reconnection to that frequency or octave of consciousness that we also host within us. And so Stellar Gateway activation speaks about that. It speaks about, I'll go ahead and read some of it for you. There's a specific section in here. So it's the vortice, right? The reconnection with the heart space allows you to generate a really powerful field around you, and reality renders from that field. So it's a divine matrix. It governs our connection to the spiritual laws of creation and the quantum field, and holds our life's potential, as it holds all the intentions that we set before this incarnation and all the intentions we set during it that support the ever unfolding path of our earthly experience. Energetically, this is a portal that's beyond space and time. And when we connect with it, we come into alignment with the aspects of our soul's journey, including when we're part of the cosmos. And that's what it is, right? When we speak about holographic DNA, which is the morphic field, it is the quantum field, it's the instruction manual of how the non-physical manifests into form. We also speak to aspects like epigenetics, right? This is things that we've inherited from the bloodline that are gene codes that we can turn on and off, right? If there's been a disconnection from the self within the lineage, we can actually turn that off and reestablish that connection, and it's restored through us. So, and again, that is quantum healing. Healing is not linear, it's something that is quantumly happening. So your ancestors are also healing through that integration. So it transports us to that stargate that has a giant pyramid above it. And this is representing Thoth, which is a former Atlantean. It represents our potential to connect with our ancient and starry connections. All external networks lead us back towards our internal networks and our cosmic origins. That's what it is. Everything is reminding us of what we truly are, right? We've embedded many points of remembrance within this system, and that's what I see as communication hubs that we've established. This is a place that we can also bring ourselves back into coherence and reconnection with the self, essentially. So the pyramid is a symbol of rising power and how our soul has existed through lifetimes. The Stargate is a projection of our own stellar gateway. This card is therefore a reminder that all things are possible, and with the right alignment, we can draw the powers of heaven down to earth in order to create heaven upon earth. So coming back into alignment with the intentions that your soul had in order to bring together your pre-life intentions so that you can live life in a more aligned way, right? So it's all about your awareness and understanding the energies that are being carried through the realm of 𝓻𝓪𝓵 into the land of 𝓂𝓵. And you can bring about the strengths that have been unaccessed up until now, that are now being reclaimed through you from the land of 𝓂𝓵, and bring them up. And so that's what's happening. Well, Scorpio is associated with Mars and Pluto energy, but actually Thoth is also associated with Neptune energy, so it's more about the invisible realms, right? Neptune is gaseous in nature, so it's the intangible parts of the body and the auric field, for example. So he's actually more associated with Odin and Neptune, which would be more Piscean and 12th house. So our connection with a higher power and the invisible realms. It's also the land of our hidden talents too, and where we can reclaim that. I also see the 12th house as the morphic field because it's our gateway into the Akashic records, which is also the subconscious mind. So it's encoded within you. It's not about external space or exploration. It's about interstellar travel. That's essentially what it is. And so, yeah, that's the vibe. Sharing same time, that's the goal. Yeah. And you are so powerful, right? You remember yourself as you truly are as you move through the system. So allow that remembrance to move through you wherever you are. We'll probably talk about it when it comes to grid work further, but it's to consciously work with the land that you're walking upon, being really conscious. You have soul contractual agreements with not just the planet itself, but then also each country has a soul contractual agreement. And that's the multidimensional construct of Gaia, right? There are loads of different vortices within the major one portal. And so there's all these different subdivisions of nested realities. But essentially, even the land that you were born on, you have a soul contractual agreement with it. And you can gently bring awareness to what that is by understanding the apparent themes. So that's something that I also am trying to translate into the human language from the infinite, essentially, through astral cartography and different subject matters like this. So you can understand the intricate design and layout and how that kind of activates within your avatar on a intellectual level. But it's something that we all already understand anyway. And so in the grand scheme, it doesn't really matter. We can bring conscious awareness into what our relationship is with the land, what our relationship is to ourself, our ancestral line, and essentially this planet, the relationship that we're cultivating with the potential of everything that we are encoded to become, that's encoded within us as potential, and understand which one we're accessing, which ones we're working with, which ones also no longer serve us. And so we are alchemizing and finally putting down. Again, if something doesn't serve us, like a belief system, a reinforced thought form, that's all a belief system is. We can say, okay, is this our truth that we're going to continue to carry? Or is it more in our authentic, highest expression to now put this down, something that our ancestors couldn't? And so that's what you have the strength to do. So how do we stabilize, especially our reticular activating system, as we remember more and increase our awareness and communion? So you're pointing to the reconnection to the self and increasing your awareness and communing. The thing is, once we stabilize within our body and feel safe within the body, which is not abandoning it, but actually reconnecting with ourselves, especially when we are feeling those heightened emotions, and understand how do we become our own source, right? What do we need? What can we provide? Again, we're literally bringing that sensation into the present moment. We're bringing it into the body. And as we do that, and we increase our awareness of it and what it is that we need, the communion with the celestial and other realms naturally begins to become a side effect of it. That is a natural thing to happen, because we're ascending into a high octave, and so it's not that the veil thins, it's that we now become in resonance with that dimensional layer of reality. And so that's part of the counterpart Earth. It's not something that's external, but it's again, it's dimensions organized via frequency, so they're overlapped, much like the auric field. You have a root body, multidimensional body, then you have a sacral, right, multidimensional body all around you, 360 degrees. You have a solar, you have a heart, you have all of the, and then they're infinite. It's beyond even the 7. So yeah, understanding which field within you is contracted, right? Understanding which field, bringing awareness into the body, so we understand where are the cracks, where are the leaks of our life force, how can we seal them, how can we bring awareness to it. A powerful being who uses its vehicle with care will get so much out of it. It was never the vehicle, it was how we operate it with love and care. Yeah, we can be so surprised and pleasantly surprised by how exciting our life experience gets through the most simple state of awareness, state of reconnection with the self. Again, it's literally the gates of heaven are open to the children of the earth, right? The kingdom of heaven is accessible to the children of the earth. And so it's becoming childlike once again. And so, like Alan Watts said, the humans suffer when they take too seriously what the gods made for fun. This is all part of the grand design, and in the grand scheme of things, you know, you are playing a small part into the larger role of the evolution of the entire construct and the one source from which all information has emerged from. That's all it was, that's all it is, and that's all it ever will be. Being fully present in this place is true joy. It is. Yeah. We begin to just, it's so simple. It's just bringing ourselves back again and again and again. That's all it is. Bringing yourself back. And as you do that, you'll model that example, because as hysterics or world events happen that cause the, let's just say, there would be certain world events, okay, that will compete for your attention. That's the psychological operation that is the matrix. However, you don't have to feed that emotional reaction, okay? That's how you continue to feed the system. What would happen if we just stopped paying attention to the systems altogether? And your awareness was with you and you were grounded. You begin to model that example. And that's the counterpart Earth split that we'll see. Those operating in disconnection, just truly disconnection from the self. Those who've fallen into decoherence. But again, and you can move through the system with coherence, you're going to model that and what it looks like, which naturally allows people's field to recalibrate around you. But it's less about that, and it's more about how you can move through the system with that level of peace. You don't have to wait for something outside of you to happen before you can feel peace. You can feel peace and transcend whatever current world event or circumstance appears to be happening in your reality at any point in time. And that's the message. Okay. Right, so I'm gonna love and leave you right there. It's just a coherence message today. It was a divine redirection. We'll hop on here with Mo another time, but I'm glad I got to do that meditation anyway with you. And I'm gonna go because I definitely have some interesting topics to bring up. I have a message coming out today on the new moon in Taurus where I go deeper into it anyway. But yeah, it was such a privilege to connect with you guys. I'm glad to see that you're all doing well. Such beautiful comments, such beautiful energy. Yeah, you know, definition of success and abundance is truly the regulation of the nervous system. It's the forgotten language. Training the body, training the vessel, training the divine instrument that your eternal essence can express itself through is the cultivation of mastery of your inner world so that you can then master your relationship with the external physical realm. So I'm gonna love and leave you right there. If you for some reason come across this message, well, do consider subscribing because we'd love to have you around. Personal reading details are also down below. We will probably take a little break. I'll let you know when I start personal readings again. I have the last batch that I'll be doing because I'm going to be traveling again very soon. And so I'm going to need to recalibrate to that complete different time zone. And yeah, until next time, I'll let you know if I hop on here later, guys. I might do, but I'm going to dive in and enjoy the day as well. So have a beautiful new moon. Have a very powerful reconnection with the self, and welcome home. Welcome home and enjoy this construct because it's your home away from home. You have the privilege of being able to experience the journey of your choices here, and that's all the experience is. It's a culmination of the choices that you made, and the choices that you can make. So until next time, bye.